Ladies and gentlemen, it is with immense pleasure and gratitude that I present to you Osgood Perkins.
Hi. Hi. Hey, folks. What do you know?
So before we get into the nitty-gritty of you and your background and your history and your filmmaking and all of that fun stuff, how's Chilliwack been for you so far?
Chilliwack's great. I came to Canada, to Vancouver 2 years ago to just sort of make a movie and just never left for sort of all the obvious reasons, I suppose, because Canada's great, Vancouver's great, and America's a mess. And it was easy to make movies here. I found really great partners. And, none of this happens alone. Like, everything he describes is the alchemy of hundreds of people. Do you know what I mean? Like, I sit up here sort of representing the thing, like the team mascot, but it's hardly me by myself doing any of this.
Well, maybe I'll just jump right into the middle then and address that. Because when I was going through your bio and looking at some of the things and the upcoming projects, and then going through the bios of some of the other people that are here attending the festival that worked on Longlegs with you, I see that they are also attached to your upcoming work. So it almost seems like you're putting a crew together.
Yeah, well, what happened was it's funny because, like, Longlegs really felt like the movie where I figured out what I was doing. Like, I learned how to do the job. I didn't really know what the job was before that. I was sort of good at faking it, and I guess sort of having been raised in sort of the manner, I had some guesses about what it might kind of be. But it wasn't until Longlegs and the dialogue between me and the producers and the other artists where I really started to understand sort of what my place is kind of in the whole thing. So that was exciting and scary and rewarding and gratifying. And we just hit it off. And it's nice to work in situations that are nice. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's nice to work. Well, I guess a lot of my business is toxic.
I've read, yeah.
So they say. So they say. And I think we kind of got a lot of feedback. We, meaning me and the producers, and sort of got a lot of feedback from everybody being like, this is really kind of cool. We're having a good time. We like this. And so many people who worked on the movie were so young. And so many of them had no problem saying to me, just so you know, Longlegs will be the first movie or thing that I've ever worked on that I will also watch. So that was like, okay, cool, we're all doing it together. Cute, right? And a lot of them are kids, 25-year-old kids. Like my prop master on Longlegs, who did all this incredible work, was 25. And I'm not 25, and it was great that he was 25. But so there was a lot of spirit, a lot of energy, and so we found this great team. You make a family, all these are the corny ways of putting it, all the expected ways of saying things. And we were just into what we were making. Do you know, we loved what we were doing, right? Like, what a big deal to be able to say that, to love what you're doing. And we had the script for The Monkey was done and ready, and everybody was sort of on board, and we had the financing, and we were ready to go. And the idea was we were going to make Longlegs, and then we were just going to we were just going to step off of one moving boat onto another moving boat. We're just going to end Longlegs and start The Monkey, which doesn't happen. Like, you can't do that in this business. No one does that. You don't go from movie to movie. You make a movie and then you pull your hair out for a long time and you wonder if you're ever going to work again. So that was quite crazy that it was going to happen like that. So we were all ready to go, sort of toes on the line. All the same crew was going to make The Monkey with me. And there was a writer's strike and there was an actor's strike. And even though we had everything sort of set up, everything was legit, Stephen King said, I won't do it. He said, I won't sign a contract during the strike when everybody's eating shit. I can't eat $2 million. And he was totally right. Like I said, we were on the level, so it would have been fine, but he just wasn't going to do it. So that was a real heartbreak, as you can imagine. That was a real gut punch. Because when you have a lot of momentum and you're feeling confident, the last thing you want to do is be stopped. So when that happened, we all kind of froze for a minute, like, well, what the fuck? And I had this thing of like, well, I'm in Canada now. I don't want to go back to LA. Like, this is going so well. Like, we have this team, we have this stuff, we want to make this movie. Let's go. What are we doing? And King said, can't do it. So I sort of legitimately cried for sort of 30 minutes because I'm an adult. And you, A, have to cry, and B, have to cap it at 30 minutes. And so after 30 minutes, I kind of, okay, look, get the phone, and I call up my producer, Chris Ferguson, who's in the next room. He can hear me. Vancouver local, made 100 movies before I showed up. And I called him up and I said, Chris, what are we going to do? He's like, we're going to wait and we're going to do nothing, of course. And I was like, oh, no, that's not the right answer. We got to do something. We got to make a movie. He's like, out of what? I said, I don't know, man. We're going to make a movie. He's like, but there's an actor strike and there's a writer strike and you can't make a movie. I said, no, yes, we can. He's like, okay, let's figure it out. And for a minute, it was like, well, are we going to do found footage? Can we do found footage? Like, there's no actors in found footage, or is there? Can we fake it? Can we do claymation? No, because then there's voices. Like, what do we do? How do we write it? You can't write it, Perkins. You're a Writers Guild member. You're done. You're out. It's over. And then it was like, well, what I could do is we could just find a writer who's Canadian and isn't in the Writers Guild and wants to. Oh. And I could kind of just talk to him like a director sometimes because I can work as a DGA member, no problem. No, I'm not striking. The DGA figured it out. So now I'm working on a script, just legit talking to the guy. Let me see the pages, and I'm just a director, and you're writing, and it's cool. You're not in the guild, and that's fine. So we sort of said, well, okay, if we're making a movie out of nothing, then let's raise some money. Check. It's probably one location, right? Like, it's like if we're just making this up as we go along, like it's probably a horror movie and it's probably one location. We know that much. Send the guys out to find a location. So we sent out Jesse, our guy, our producer, to just start knocking on doors. And he knocked on the door of a baby boomer couple who had lived in a house that they built in 1971 in North Vancouver, groovy place. And they were like, I don't know, sounds okay to us. So now we have a house and a notion and a writer who's willing to write it, because I can't. And we just figured the fucking thing out. And where I thought I was going to be saddled with bad actors, sort of like dinner theater quality people, movie of the week, no shade on movie of the week, but there's like a certain level of performer. I was going to be like, okay, we'll figure it out. And then my producers called me like, well, Tatiana Maslany will talk to you. And I was like, well, she's Canadian, yeah, and she'll do it non-union because she can do it through the Canadian Union. Oh, we can just do this. Oh, there's a whole way to make a real movie here. From the minute that I got up off the ground and called Chris to wrapping the picture was something in stupid like 13 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, ridiculous, idiotic, and so fun. And so freeing and so wonderful and so powerful and so cheaply done on the quick and on the fast and just with passion and energy and excitement. It was a real dream. I mean, it was really great. The movie's fucking great. It had all the right ingredients. She's the best actor I've ever worked with. She's amazing. She's from Regina, Canada.
I can't believe.
Give it up for Regina. Birthplace of Tatiana Maslany. And so, yeah, we showed it to Neon. Neon said, we'll put that in the theater. And we said, oh, amazing. And so what ended up happening was, when we were on the set, the strikes broke. They resolved the Writers Guild strike. They resolved the actors strike. We've wrapped shooting Keeper on a Friday. We had the wrap party on a Saturday. And on Monday, we were sitting in the offices of The Monkey. So we made Longlegs, Keeper, and The Monkey 3 movies in 16 months.
Wow.
And I did it all by myself. There was no one around me.
Yeah.
I'm so fucking brilliant, it's disgusting.
So do you foresee the family sticking together and doing more stuff?
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, after last night, on top of all of that, just the skills you guys have at film trivia.
My editor, who is from Chilliwack, he's a Chilliwack native, Graham Fortin, won the cup. He won the trivia cup. His name is forever etched in Chilliwack history, as it should be, the man from Chilliwack.
It's funny because everybody that I talked to that was at your table last night, and I go, congratulations, no, it was Graham. It's just Graham.
Yeah,
halfway through the question,
we don't know anything.
the answer already.
We don't know anything. We know nothing.
Yeah. So you've been industry adjacent your whole life. You started actually as an actor. Why did you move from acting to directing?
Because I can't do it.
Is it really that simple?
Because I'm a bad actor, because I have no idea what I'm doing. Because I'm out of control. There's no good feeling that I have when I'm doing it. My sort of pursuit of that was for honestly what it was about for me was I was kind of a 25-year-old kid who'd sort of been tumbled a little bit by life and kind of didn't know exactly how to do anything, and sort of had a moment of like, well, I guess I got to work. People seem to work. I should probably work. And, I had this sort of weird entitled thing where I was like, well, my old man was that, so I could probably just do that, I guess. Like there'll be some kind of free pass. There's not a free pass, it turns out, which is good, the good news. The good news is that there really isn't a free pass. But I kind of started just doing it because it seemed like it was something that I don't want to say entitled to, but that I could do. That there was a possible thing that I could kind of half-ass. I'm just being honest. Like that's how I was when I was 25. That was 25 years ago. And I just never felt it, man. It just felt weird to me. And, I don't really do it anymore. I act in The Monkey, which is really fun because it's my script. And that's just a different thing. You're married to it in a different way, and it feels like a continuation of you in a different way. So that's fun, but no, I'm a lousy actor.
So your experience as a lousy actor, has that benefited you as a director?
Yeah. I think more than anything, and I sort of said this last night, I think what I got from my dad, which was very little, by the way, in terms of sort of, my dad wasn't someone to be like, son, let me take you on my knee and tell you about things and sort of, here's what it is to be an actor. My dad was very kind of cagey, and he died when I was 18, so there wasn't a big life that we had together, and he was a very sort of taciturn, sort of introverted dude who wasn't about to, like I said, have the, hey, son, let's talk about this. So I never really got that sort of piece, but the precious little things that I did get sort of, for me, translated to the message of kind of just leave it alone. Kind of leave the thing alone. It's like gardening, I guess, right? It's like you don't sit there yelling at the fucking plant, the seeds. You help the environment. You improve the chances of success, but you can't make it do the thing. And I think that somewhere along the line, I got out of my dad's philosophy that there was a certain sort of laissez-faire is not exactly the right way to put it, but you're curating something as opposed to making it happen or forcing it or telling somebody. So I think my approach in general with anybody on the set, whether it's art department or an actor or anybody, is sort of like, how do we get you, person, to do your best thing? Because you do your thing, I don't do your thing. So somewhere along the line, there's sort of like, I don't tell people how to act because I don't know how to do it. How would I tell someone how to act anyway? How do you even do that? So instead, what I tend to do is, in my scripts, especially now, I write what people are thinking. I don't know why everybody doesn't do that. Somewhere along the line, and anybody here who's a screenwriter, somewhere along the line, like there was sort of set in stone, like this is the format. This is the formatting, and it looks like this. Right? It's sort of antiseptic, right? It's a little bit like a manual, and that doesn't need to be that way. When you can write anything you want on the page is yours to populate with your word. And so oftentimes what I'll do is I'll sort of just in the stage direction, instead of, and he got up and went over and opened the can of dog food, and he thought, God, has it always been like this? Because he's going to get up and do the can of dog food anyway. But why not send the actor to do the can of dog food thinking, God, has it always been like this? Do you know? Mm-hmm. Because then the actor's like, oh, now I got something to think about, to do, to play. So anyway, I don't know how I got onto that bit, but right, directing actors.
Yeah.
Telling them maybe what they might be thinking or experiencing as opposed to saying, say it like this, do it like that.
So, and the writing part, when did that start? When did you just start writing? And then when did it become something that you could lean on?
I started doing it sort of cautiously with other people, kind of co-writing things with people and kind of being introduced to people, or people would sort of meet me and we would kind of start doing things. And I kind of felt good about how I could do it. And sometimes, to be honest, I felt good about how I could do it in comparison to how someone else can do it. I'm not saying that I was ever like, oh, I'm better than you, but just in in the natural way of you're doing something over here and someone's doing it with you and you're kind of like, well, that's no good. What they're doing is that's sort of not that interesting, right? Like, I feel like I'm kind of grooving on this and that's just sort of dull. So over time, I just sort of found that I was able to separate that. And it wasn't until The Black Coat's Daughter. The Black Coat's Daughter was the first thing that I ever wrote for myself, by myself. And it just gave me a lot of confidence.
So when you sat down and started writing that, you knew you were also going to direct that?
No, I knew that I was writing a script that I hoped someday someone would try to make in some abstract way. And there were other directors sort of attached to it and friends of mine and sort of things. And then it just came my way. And when I got on the set of that, I'd never set action before. I did on that movie. And it was just, good timing, letting, here it goes again, right? Sort of letting the flow of things just kind of flow.
So all the time you spent on sets as an actor, were you often watching the director and thinking, that's something I want to do? Or how did it become something you wanted to do?
It was something I wanted to do when I was a kid. It was something I wanted to do when I was 14, 15, and it was like Beetlejuice. Like the real I don't know what this is. The real Beetlejuice. Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure, real Tim Burton, Twin Peaks, right? Like really affecting Silence of the Lambs, things that really happened at a certain time in my life when I was just at a really ripe age. That's always what I wanted to do. It just took me a long time to kind of get to it.
So with your writing, and it's reflected in the directing and the films that we see, I know you mentioned something last night about, horror. Well, I don't like horror. What is horror? Although your films tend to get referred to as horrors of varying different styles. But, they're definitely dark, and they're definitely kind of have this existential feeling to them. Why do you think it is that kind of darker narrative is coming out in your work?
I think if my dad had been Gene Kelly, I probably would be writing musicals. Right? Like that sort of seems like a legitimate thing to say just about a son with a sort of an iconic father. I have children and we're always very aware, anybody who's a parent is aware of how formative that reflection is, right? Like that's really the whole deal. Like how we feel about our parents and our reflection of our parents, like that's kind of all of it, right? The rest of it sort of becomes tributaries coming off of that. But that essential stuff is like, that's the real stuff. So I think that there has always been a need to sort of atone with the father, right? That's that Joseph Campbell thing, right? Atonement with the father is like one of the steps on the hero's journey, right? That moment where it's like, and for me, still the great moment of all time will always be Luke, I am your father. That's still just like the best piece of anything, mythology that's ever happened. And when that happened to me, that moment when I was 5 years old or 6 years old or something, it rang especially deep. So I think that the pursuit of the horror genre or feeling comfortable there is certainly about sort of the imago of father. That has to be where that's coming from. The playfulness that I try to bring to it is equally kind of about that. And I think that there's an awareness that I'm indebted to that genre, that I'm connected to that genre, but that it's not, as my 15-year-old daughter says, Dad, it's not that deep. And it's kind of not. And then if you're a smart person and you start looking at horror and you're kind of like, oh, well, it's just about how we deal with death, right? Like horror movies are just about how we deal with the fact that we die, right? Like that's sort of elemental, and maybe people don't think about it that way, but isn't that what it is? Isn't that what it all is? Like we're looking at these movies which are sort of saying, this person dies this way, on this, because of this, or in this way. Well, look what happens after you die. It's kind of like that. It's like Poltergeist. Sometimes people die like this, and sometimes it's a fucking chainsaw massacre.
Yeah.
And so it's like what happens to us. It's funny because it's really up now with my 5-year-old. It's like what happens to us is the big question, right? And it's all in our minds whether we entertain it or not. And so I think that the desire to go on a Friday night and see like a portrait of that, a portrayal, a guess around that makes sense. So it makes sense that I would go there. I don't know. It's interesting.
Do you see yourself ever stepping far outside of that?
I don't think you ever have to, because like the horror genre because it has life and death in it, therefore it has everything. Right? Because it entertains the mystery and sort of it guesses about what's behind the veil. Like what do we not see, understand? What can we not touch? What can we not cope with? What's held back from us? What's hidden from us? Then it's really everything. And so there's sort of like the horror genre remains the sort of the genre where there are no boundaries, there's no limit, there's no rule, there's no sense. It's the most poetical, you would think, right? Because again, you're dealing with this stuff that you can't, it's all guesswork. It's all poetry around this weird thing, this news, I shouldn't say bad news, this news that we all die.
Yeah, and I suppose as a fan of horror films myself, horror films they tend to get thought of in one particularly narrow way. But you can
like Slumber Party Massacre.
Yeah. But there's such a wide variety to it. Because, I mean, a movie like Terrifier 3 has no relationship to The Babadook or It Follows. But they're all three of them are horror movies. So do you feel that affords you latitude to tell different kinds of stories, but stay in that horror lane?
Yeah, because you get to be hyper real if you want to be, hyper weird if you want to be, very abstract if you want to be, very viscerally gritty on the ground if you want to be.
You mentioned that idea of sprinkling, humor or laughs in there, and that was one of the things I liked about watching the movie last night with the full theater is you get to hear other people laughing at things, and you realize that when you laughed at it the first time, it's not just because you're a sicko.
There's
weirdo.
Nothing wrong with you.
Yeah, I mean, that
you were right, in fact.
Yeah, those moments, like I want to see my bedroom, and then that cut to that awkwardness, or want to come to my birthday. That's so brilliantly funny, and then you put it in the context of what that movie is, and it actually makes it funnier.
Yeah. My friend Jordan Peele has said and will say all the time, the difference between a horror movie and a comedy is the music. And I think that it kind of falls into just what I was saying before about like if the horror genre is sort of in its most sort of deconstructed form is like a study on life and death, why not be a little funny about it too? Why not just let the air out a little bit also? Because we're all still here, right? We all got to deal with it. So maybe just like a little giggle every once in a while is fine.
So when you find those moments, are you writing them into the script, or are you finding them while you're filming?
I'm writing them into the script. Like the weirdness of Lee Harker is it's in the pages. It's in the pages. And I think that's I mean, the script has to be good, guys. Like no great movies are made on bad scripts. It just doesn't happen. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to break anybody down or anything like that, but it's like if you don't have a script, you don't have a movie.
Okay. I want to stick with that idea, though. So how do you find that balance in your films of storytelling, where you get to tell your story, you get to make sure that it's scary, that we feel that impending doom, but we can still laugh? Like, how do you balance that? Because if you go too far one way, you lose the other, or do you? Have you ever done it one way and figured that didn't work? I went too far?
Oh, man, we look at stuff and it doesn't work all the time.
Okay.
Like filmmakers in the room know how it works. You write a script, you're like, oh, it's this, I get it. It's this thing. And I've said it before, you realize the script is cool, it's great. You can pass it around to people, they can get on the same page, they can understand what you're doing, they can figure out how much it's going to cost, what days you need, where you're going to park the trucks, who you need to hire on what day, how many stunt people, da-da-da-da-da. And you recognize a few movies in that the script has nothing to do with the movie, right? It's like you're driving down the highway and you see the H by the side of the road, hospital. The sign is not the hospital. The sign is pointing to where the hospital is. The script is the H sign that's pointing to the eventual movie. It has nothing to do with the movie. It's getting people in one place at one time. That's what the script does. It gets everybody to the spot. Then when you're there, you shoot it and it changes into something totally, totally different. It's just a different thing now. It's no longer those pages. It's not the H sign anymore. Now you're at the place and it's becoming this other thing and other people are contributing. Screenwriting, writing of any kind, so lonely and such just like an echo chamber of your own shit. And then you open it up to a group of artists and all of a sudden it's a garden. And then you take that footage and you're like, oh, I feel really, this footage is amazing. I'm amazing. As people know, it's often said, a movie is never as good as its dailies or as bad as its first assembly. Anybody who's watched the first assembly of their movie knows, worst day of your life. Worst day of your life. When you see your footage put together for the first time, worst day of your life. What the fuck happened? It was this beautiful thing and it's fucking ruined and it'll never be good again. But it will be. And you figure it out. And the editing process is I've said it before, it's a nearly psychedelic thing. Right? Everybody knows. You start cutting, you start being like, oh, but if that goes with that, well, then that. Oh, but if that goes with that, then that. And it's mind-boggling. And so I've had excellent editors. Graham Fortin, man from Chilliwack, is one of them. And Greg Ing, who's from Vancouver, is my other guy. And lucky me.
Well, and I'm going to be talking to them tomorrow about this, so it'll be interesting to hear what they say. But
Smart
how
fellows.
hands-on are you in the editing process?
Well, I show up every day. And I'm always sober, and I come,
Always.
and I sit there every day with them, and we do the thing every day, and we look at it every day, and then we show it to people, test audiences. Oh, it's ghastly. Oh, it's a fucking nightmare. Here's why it's a nightmare. They're right. That's the nightmare. The nightmare is you open it up to the people, you see people streaming in, and I'm not talking about you people. You see people streaming in, you showed in Burbank, right? And you see people streaming in, test audiences, and you're like, motherfuckers, these people.
And they're being paid for this as well.
Sometimes, but it doesn't matter. They're my bosses. They own my ass. People off the street in Burbank. They're right. I'm wrong. If it doesn't work for them, it doesn't work. If they don't understand it, it's not clear. If the ending is bad, they will tell you. And you'll be like, I fucking know it's bad. I know they're right. And it's a weird thing. It's a weird relationship because you want to be like idiots, monsters, animals, lizards. But they're right.
Are they always right?
Always. You want to know why?
Yeah.
It's for them. It's not for me. It's nice to do a picture that you feel good about and you stand by. And I got real lucky with Longlegs and real lucky with The Monkey and real lucky with movies I've made where I stand by and I'm like, I love this. But I have plenty of friends who make movies who they get to the point where they don't love it anymore. But it's the movie, right? Like, it's not made for me. It's made for the group. And so what they say goes. What's the fight? I'm right. I made it for myself and I'm right. All the people who it was intended for are wrong. I don't think it goes that way. It's a negotiation, of course, and nothing is perfect. And nothing is 100%. And Oscar Wilde said, when critics don't agree, the artist is happy, right? So like the artist feels good when half the people hate the thing and half the people love the thing, but the people paying for your movie don't like that.
I can imagine.
They don't like that at all.
I can imagine that was hard to come to that realization and accept it, though, because it just seems natural to me that, of course, you think it's great. And you're just like, okay, it's not for them. They're the wrong people. The right people will like it.
That sounds like a real luxury to me. Do you know that? And sure, that's also fine. But I think reality of today in 2025 coming up with sort of like, I get in trouble for saying things like this, but like there's sort of like this rolling dark cloud of streaming, Netflix and everything. Like it's almost over for us, right? Like we gotta keep the people in the theater watching the thing. Like that was the great thing about Longlegs. That's what means the most about Longlegs to me by far, is that people went to the movie theaters and saw it, and they went back and saw it again, and they told their friends to go see it. The best thing for me, period, was when it opened and it was killing. It was just doing so well. And it was so gratifying. It was like, oh, everything's going to be fine. Oh, thank God. But it was the people who would call me up and say, my 16-year-old kid thinks I'm cool now because I took them to see Longlegs in the theater. It's the first time we've been to the movies in 10 years. And it was like, hell yeah. That was the biggest win. The biggest win was that dads were taking their kids to see the movie.
The thing I remember about that movie is I don't remember for a while a movie that had the word of mouth that did when it came out. Because it didn't instantly come out into like a wide release, did it? It was limited at first, but then as the word got it. They may have expanded it a little bit. It came out pretty wide. That's all. That was, as I say to my friend at Neon, who does the marketing, I made the movie, you made the movie a hit. And if you can't agree with that, Christian Parks, we can't be friends. Like we can't talk about it anymore. Because like if you can't own that part of it, what are we talking about? He doesn't want to know from that. He's like, no, it's your movie. But Neon, the way they approached it, they made the movie mandatory viewing for people. They positioned it in such a way that you had to see it. You would be uncool if you didn't see it. You'd be lost if you didn't see it. How could you not see it? Everyone's seeing it. Everyone loves it. Scariest movie ever made. Best movie ever made. You know? Yeah.
And luckily people actually liked it, which was nice. And we felt good about the picture, so that was also nice. So we weren't selling like a bill of goods, which is too bad. It happens sometimes. But no, it was magical. Magical.
Yeah. And you're right, too. I just remember the discourse was like, I have to go see this. Yeah. I have to see it.
Yeah, and luckily people liked it. Because they could have had to go see it and really hated it, too. That could have happened.
Okay. So I'm going to come out for questions in just a little bit, but I'm wondering, after having a movie that comes seemingly out of nowhere and is as successful as that was, do you feel pressure now?
No. I feel confident now. And luckily we had 2 movies done, right? So I never had the moment of I never had the like, am I going to work again moment, because I'd already worked too much in the same year that Longlegs was made. We'd already done 2 other pictures. And The Monkey comes out in February. Like that's really soon. Like that's 6 months after Longlegs came out. Like that's like right away. And it's a totally different movie. Couldn't be a more different movie. It's the most different movie possible. So am I excited about that? I really am. Like, could I be like, I wonder if test audiences are going to like it. I wonder if they're going to get it. I wonder if they're going to be okay with the fact that the Longlegs guy made a comedy. Like, are they going to be okay? Are they going to go for that? I think they will. Let's see, huh? Only they know.
But I suppose tempered with that, has it also made it easier for you, opened more doors?
Yeah, but the funny thing is like, everyone says when you have a success, are you celebrating? Are you celebrating? I bet you're celebrating all the time. And it's like, what do you do? You drink one night. you kind of like, you pay your credit card bills down. Celebrate. right? You get all that shit down to zero, you celebrate. And you get to keep working, and you get to start saying no to a lot of things, which is the best.
Oh.
That's the best. Saying no is the best. So you got to say no, and you get to just feel, you get to feel empowered, and you get to feel like you crested a thing that's really hard to do. Like to make a piece of work in this world that that's indelible and gets into the bloodstream is really fucking hard to do. And somehow, magically, we did it. And maybe 3 times. Let's see. I don't know.
Yeah. Right on. Okay. Are there any questions from the floor? And I was intentionally going to say, I always just right away, hands right here, go there. And I was going to go way into the back to the first hand, but well, close to the back. Sure.
Are you
Actually, we'll get the mic because unfortunately the camera and control doesn't pick it up. So your voice won't be in the video.
Okay. Do you play a big role in the trailers? Because a big reason my friends and I all were so excited to see your movie is you're one of the few horror movies this year that didn't spoil the entire movie in the trailer.
Yeah. Neon really did the work. Like, Neon really had a master plan of how to do this. And it started with the fact that they felt like they had a movie that was special and that they could kind of unwind and say, here's the smallest detail. I mean, the first image they showed of the movie was the Polaroid of the family, right? It has nothing to do with the movie. Doesn't have Nicolas Cage in it. Doesn't say anything about anything. Just the family with the red eyes and the Polaroid. And so they went from the micro, and they just built it out like that. And it was really brilliantly done. I approved things, and every once in a while I nudge and I'll curate things, but I take zero credit for the way that was unrolled. That was all Neon, and again, fucking lucky. Could have been Lionsgate or something, you know.
Touche.
Near miss. Nice Danzig shirt too, by the way. Right? Yeah, right. Definitely.
So that's good. I saw the movie last night. I thought it was very good. What was interesting for me that I found, I want to ask you about the actress who played Lee Hawkins, Micah
Monroe, yeah.
Monroe.
Yeah.
Her characterization in the movie was very interesting to me because of how awkward and stiff she played the character. Now, did you direct her to be like that, or is that how she is in real life, or she came that way? Like, how much of that was you telling her your version of Lee Harker, or did she decide to play it that way?
She decided to play it that way, and she one of the cool things about Micah, and is cool about other actors who I've worked with and who I find really intriguing, is she's nothing like that at all. Like, when you meet Micah Monroe for the first time, when I met her for the first time at a coffee shop, she's... Oh my God, yeah, totally, yeah. She's everywhere. She's up on everything. She's just everywhere. And then she gets on camera and it's like, right? Stop. And you're like, whoa. And brilliantly done that way. And I had seen her movies and seen her kind of stoic performances and then met her and found her to be this really kinetic person. And I love that weird transformation that happens where you pass in front of the lens and it's like, oh, it's a different human being. That's great.
And one story point that Derry and I have different interpretations of.
Oh, shit.
At the end,
don't feel like I really took a stand on anything.
well, at the end, when Lee wakes up in the basement,
Yeah.
and the phone call is going for forever,
Yeah.
and she picks it up and there's a voice.
Yeah.
Whose voice is that?
Who do you think it is?
Can I tell him what you thought?
What do you
Okay,
think?
so Darren thought it was from the afterlife, like some supernatural. I'm like, it sounded like Longlegs, but maybe it was Carter, because Carter was in altered state when Lee got there to his house. Who do you think? Who did you write it as?
It's the devil.
Okay.
And we had a really fun. So just to say about that, and I see the time clicking up, but just to say about that, here's how film editing works. In the script, and as we shot it, she's downstairs, she's sleeping. She wakes up in Longlegs' bed. gross, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh fuck, I'm in, huh? So she wakes up in Longlegs' bed, and she finds out where oh my God, I'm in the basement. Then she comes up the stairs. Oh my God, I'm in my mom's house. Oh my God, he's been living in my house this whole time. Oh shit, going to the phone, gotta call the cops and get help. Oh, the phone is dead. That's how it's written, and that's how we shot it. And one day we're looking at it, Greg Ing, the second editor, and I, because it's Graham and it's Greg, and we work in kind of like a train cars. And I'm there with Greg, and we're looking at the thing, and we're doing the thing, we're looking at it, and we're looking at it, and just out of nowhere, Greg says, "What if the phone's ringing?" I was like, "What? What the fuck are you talking about, man?" He's like, "Well, what if it's ringing? And what if she doesn't call, she picks it up?" The H is the sign for the hospital, which points to the hospital. The script is the thing that points to the movie, but it isn't the movie at all. So what we were able to do then is bring her with a ringing phone up the stairs, bring her to the ringing phone. Oh, the phone's ringing in the house. Oh, we'll reveal the house with the ringing phone. Oh, she'll pick it up. What are we going to do? Let's put the devil on it. Let's get 5 people to come in and do devil voices for us. Lee Harker. We had 5 guys come in and do things. We picked the guy we liked the best, and,
Yeah.
Bob's your uncle, or whatever they say.
So, quick basement question.
Movie magic.
On the vanity, is that a picture of Lou Reed?
That is the Lou Reed Transformer record cover. Yeah. We cleared all that stuff.
Okay, that was my follow-up.
The iconic photograph of T-Rex of Mark Bolan that's above Longlegs' bed, that photograph was taken by Ringo Starr.
Oh,
Hey, everybody learned something tonight.
there you go. You take something home with you. Any other questions? Yeah.
So as a cinematographer, I just want to start by saying I was really moved by the images, the visuals, and I noticed my friend Lawrence and I watched Gretel and Hansel a few days prior, and also just the themes of wide-angle lenses, symmetry, and center punching things. Despite working with different cinematographers, runs through. So I was interested in obviously how you curate that kind of those sensibilities. So my 2-part question is, one, like how would you put into words how that pushes your story forward? And then my second question is, I noticed you do a lot of clean single shots as opposed to over the shoulder shots or wider or 2 shots that give your audience geography and context of where characters are in relation to each other. So I was really curious as to your philosophy on what the isolated shots, how that pushes your story.
I think the blanket answer to all of this, and this is the only thing that I know to be true, is you just got to do what you like. Like, you just got to do it the way you like it. So when you look at the frame, you're like, that doesn't look right, that looks right. Headroom in the frame is something that we've always done, that I've always done, because I like the way it looks. It's funny how a lot of DPs, a lot of cinematographers don't have that in their it's not something they do. So when they frame up, it's right here, right? So there's right here. Or when you're Michael Mann, it's right here. But if you're Gus Van Sant, it's sort of here. And you start to just look at pictures and you like the way they look. If you look at Antonioni's Red Desert, and people haven't seen a movie like this, you see an old Italian movie, you're like, oh, that's just the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I'm just going to rip it off. It's all theft, right? It's all just like, I like the things I like, and I'm just going to make the things look the way I like them to look. So Andres and I just liked how things looked. Gallo, who shot Gretel and Hansel, we just liked the way the shit was looking, and we just fetishized the hell out of it, and we just loved it up. And it's funny because I see a lot of movies, some made by people I know, some made by strangers, and I'm like, is that what you like? Like, I know you like the same movies that I like. Like, we all obsess over the same movies. It's not that different. Everyone thinks about Don't Look Now. Everybody thinks about Don't Look Now. So it's like, you like Don't Look Now and your movie looks like this? Yeah. Like, how is that a thing? What's happening? It's just different sensibilities. But the blanket answer is, as the director, you get to say what you like. Do you know what I mean? And you better do it.
Yeah. Did you ever shoot like it might be a dumb question, but like safety shots where it's like, oh, maybe.
No, I don't want that shit around. I don't want that
so
shit
you're
around.
committing. Yeah. So you're committing to.
No. Someone will find that shit and use it.
Yeah. So you're like, I'm not doing it over the shoulder because the editor might want to use it.
No. If you don't want it in the movie, don't shoot it.
Yeah. Totally.
No safety.
Okay. There you go. Running out of time, I can do one more quick question. Yeah, we'll go right there. Was there one the other way too?
There was a dude back there.
Yeah. We'll get that one too.
It'll get you.
Hi.
Hi.
First of all, love Longlegs.
Thank you.
I was just wondering if, like, you had a chance, like, to go back and just start out as a first-time filmmaker. For a filmmaker with a unconventional horror genre film, what do you think should be the approach to get a film made at that level or that scale?
Make it about yourself, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, whatever it is, if it's not about you, I don't know why you're doing it. So you can encase that and encode it however you want. Like, it doesn't have to be clearly about you, a dude with a beard and glasses and black shirt. Like, it's not that, obviously. But I'm all the people in the movie. Those are all me. Like, I called my second movie, I'm the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. It's got a 30-year-old woman in the lead. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not, obviously it's not me, but it is me. It's my experience. It's what I know to be true. And if I'm doing that, then everything goes well. So you can bury yourself in that however deeply you want. But if you're not the thing, you're gonna fall off. You're gonna lose the center. But if you always are true about what you're doing, like, oh, I know this for a fact because it's honest about me, you'll always get it. And just keep trying, man. It's hard. Nothing happens the first time. Nothing works well the first time ever. You got to keep showing up and just doing it. I don't know how else to put it. But be honest about yourself and it'll happen. And that sounds sort of corny, but it's true.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move to the back for the last question. But while the microphone is on its way, I was just thinking, have you ever done like a Q&A kind of thing like this where someone has stood up and said, I thought your movie was a piece of shit?
I did one of these Reddit things. What is it? Ask Me Anything or something like that. And one of the people was like, I really liked your movie, man. Solid 8 out of 10. And I said to him, do you rate people that you meet too that way? Like, I dig you, man. You're like a 7.5. Like, what the fuck? Just say you liked it, or 10 or something. 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
I was just curious, like, after making these 3 films back to back to back, is there anything that stands out to you going forward with your directorial style or like the way that you approach, like with the next film? Is there anything obvious to you that you want to do differently or try differently based on those experiences?
What a cool question. I think that, I don't know if this answers it, but I think that at this point right now, I get one movie that gets to be whatever I want it to be. Just one. Guillermo del Toro said that to me. He's like, you get one now. The way you want it, exactly the way you want it. He's also the guy who says, making a movie is like eating a sandwich of shit. Sometimes they give you more bread with yours. So that's all to say that it's really hard to do. Nobody in my job really feels great ever. So when you have a success and it feels all right, you cling to it for dear life. And I think I get the one now. So I know what it is, and it's well, guess what? It's fucking weird. But it's also present day, which I don't do. So how about that? I'm going to try present day. Stop hiding in period, you know? Shoot a phone every once in a while, man.
Okay, so last question / piece of advice before we're done. Is there something that you've learned at this point that you wish you'd known at the beginning and you would like to let other people know so that they don't have to wait that long, maybe?
Yeah, I said it last night, and I think it's the only piece of advice that I have to give that's worth anything, is don't hold on so tight, right? Don't bear down. Like, don't, like, I gotta make it work. It's gonna happen now. I gotta make it. Nothing happens well that way. No interaction between people happens that way. Love doesn't work that way. Parenting doesn't work that way. Learning doesn't work that way. Gardening doesn't work that way. Driving doesn't work that way, right? It's just, if you can learn to just let it go. I mean, it's such a, it's so kind of corny, but it's so true, right? Like, if you can become just a bit more of a passive observer, just a little bit, and see the thing flowing through and let it pass through you, it's just better that way. It just comes out cleaner. It's like a copy machine where there's a paper jam. It's like, just like, let it just print, right? Just like, let it just like get in there and get that thing out of there and just let it come to you. And I think that as you're writing dialogue, for instance, like I find that I write great dialogue when I'm just like, I don't know. And you just sort of let it be the thing that it is. It's a vague thing, and it comes with practice, because when we're starting out, we really want to do it. Orson Welles was 24 when he made Citizen Kane. Show me a good movie made by a 24-year-old today, and I don't know. But just, yeah, let it flow.
They're not even making good TikToks. So.
Probably not.
Thank you so much
My pleasure.
for stopping by and talking to us all. Osgood Perkins, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.